following video is an interview of Jared Kushner speaking on President Donald J. Trump's Middle East peace deal, the deal of the century. Please pay very close attention to all Kushner has to say regarding this peace deal, which has eluded man for decades. Jared Kushner acknowledges that President Donald J. Trump has succeeded in convincing Israel to accept a two-state solution and in giving the Palestinians their own state, East Jerusalem. Jared also made very clear that the Palestinians can come to the table and make any changes or demands they might desire in order to reach a peace deal. Jared is making very clear that the flexibility is there. All the Palestinians need to do is come to the table to negotiate. The United States is playing with fire. Will the United States get burned?
Mr. Kushner, thank you very much for talking to Al Arabiya and Al Hadath.
It's an honor to be with you, and I'm a big fan of Al Arabiya.
Thank you. You just called, or the president just called for two-state solution.
Yes.
Is this state delayed by 4 years? Is it conditional on a certain aspect of Israeli security? Explain to us what is this two-state solution means.
So today is a very, very big breakthrough in this conflict that has been going on for a very, very long time. For many years, in no peace processes has Israel ever agreed to allow the Palestinians to have a state. This state will double the size of the territory that they have now, and it will allow the Palestinians to be in a position where they can really have all the things they need. So in order to be in a position where you can have economy and grow, you want to have good governance, you want to have a good property rights, you want to have a judiciary system that's fair, you want to have all the things that you need in order to attract investment and allow people to live a better life. So the fundamental question that we always asked ourselves with every aspect of this plan is will this allow the Palestinian people to live a better life? And the answer undoubtedly with this plan is yes. And will this plan keep Israelis and Palestinians safe and secure? And the answer from this plan is yes. So what we've laid out today is an over 80-page document that's very detailed, that builds on a lot of the principles that have been discussed for years, like the Arab Peace Initiative, but it gives very detailed and prescriptive ways for how to go about resolving this situation in the basis of a two-state solution. So for many years, Israel has not agreed to a two-state solution. It took President Trump, who's very, very close with Israel, who's done a lot of things for Israel, who has credibility with Israel, in order to convince the Israelis that it's time for the Palestinians to have a state of their own.
And the land, there was so much talks. Is it over 70% of the West Bank? Is it 80% of the West Bank? What exactly incorporated in the land in this state?
Right. So what you have now is the land is more than double the usable land that the Palestinians have now. So it will double the size of what they have. And you asked before about the timing of the state. I didn't answer that directly, which I should. Is that the Palestinians can have a state as soon as they're willing to step up and get one. So right now...
so it could be tomorrow if they agreed.
If they show up at the table and agree to the different terms and conditions, and these aren't wild terms and conditions, these are terms and conditions that every other state in the world has to abide by. So nobody's entitled to just become a state because you want to be. You have to show the world that you're ready to be a state. So if they're willing to abide by the conditions of what a normal state will be like, and they want to go and do that, the world is ready to help them do that, and it could start tomorrow. But it's really up to their leadership to take that path. But I will say the Palestinian leadership has a perfect track record of not making a deal. And so they talk about all these different things, and they talk about all these empty promises, but they have no success in making a deal. And as a result, the Palestinian people are the one who suffered. So my hope is that we've put out a framework and gotten Israel, the much stronger party, to show that they're willing to make huge historic compromises, with the hope that now the Arab world will support it and show the Palestinian leadership that it's time to stop with corruption in the West Bank. It's time to stop with corruption in Gaza. The Palestinian people deserve a better future. There is now a real framework on the table for them to have a state if the leadership is courageous and smart enough to try to pursue it.
Let's talk about the points that you raised. Jerusalem. The president just said that Jerusalem will be undivided capital of the state of Israel, yet he says East Jerusalem will be the state, the capital of the Palestinian state. Is this contradictory?
No, it's not at all. So the boundaries of Jerusalem have been changing for years and years. The boundary of Jerusalem, the municipal boundary in 1967 was different than it is today. So people have different definitions for what defines the territory of Jerusalem. Let me talk about the part that's important to the Muslim world, right? The most important part to the Muslim world is not where you draw the line. That's Haram el-Sharif, which is the mosque. The president today reaffirmed and thanked the King of Jordan for the special role that he plays and got Israel to do the same thing and say the status quo will be preserved there. And then in addition to that, Israel is willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that all Muslims, any Muslim from Saudi Arabia, any Muslim from Indonesia, any Muslim from Pakistan, any Muslim from Bahrain, anyone who wants to go and visit the mosque is now welcome to do so. And so that is an amazing thing that should happen. Muslims should be allowed to go there and pray. And so what I found in talking to a lot of people is people were concerned that the mosque was not safe and that the status quo was at threat. But today, Israel has agreed to live by that status quo. The president has preserved that. And any Muslim who wants to go and pray at Haram al-Sharif is welcome to do so.
Including the Palestinians, because as you know, Israel restrict the entry to the Aqsa Mosque by many Palestinians, actually. They have to be over the age of 50. They restrict their movement.
No, there's different, first of all, there's a lot of misinformation that's been put out over years on what Israel does and doesn't do. If people are willing to go and pray peaceful at the mosques and not going to go there to try to incite violence and hatred and destruction, then Israel will welcome them fully. You know, Jerusalem is a very complicated subject in the Middle East, but the reality is that it's the home of the three biggest religions. It's the home of Catholics, Jews, Muslims, and it should be a city that brings everyone together. What people have done, and in Saudi Arabia you see a lot of this, where you have radicals who try to use radical ideology as a way to divide people and get people to stir violence and hatred, and that's very destructive. And you think about all of the lost opportunity in the region that's occurred because people have tried to stir violence in the name of Jerusalem. So the most important element is that the Haram al-Sharif is safe, the King of Jordan's role is secured, and most importantly, any Muslim who wants to come and pray at the mosque is able to pray there. And that's really the most important component, I think, of maybe all of this.
Sure. 2 points on that. The Jordanian just issued a statement. As you know, for Palestinians, it's not just the Aqsa Mosque, it's the Christian areas as well. The Holy Sepulchre, the Christian areas in the Old City, the Christian Quarter. Who's in charge of that in this plan?
So there's different interpretations of who has the rights to that, but what's most important about this plan is it allows anyone who wants to come to visit and to be able to worship in the way. If you're a Jew, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, you can go and you can do it in that way. And so the way that it's being governed now will be the exact same way that it is, and that will allow that people have freedom of worship. And I will remind you that, you know, between 1948 and 1967, that was a period where people who were not Muslims were not welcome to pray at their sites. And since Israel in 1967, you know, was able to take over that area in a defensive war after they were attacked, they fought back, they took it over. They immediately passed something called the Protection of Holy Places Law, where they took funds that they didn't have at the time, they restored all the different areas, and since then they've made it a very welcoming environment. It's a lot of the internal geopolitical struggles that's actually kept a lot of Muslims from visiting a site that's so special to the Muslim world.
Right, and to the Christians. Also, just to clarify on the capital, so no Palestinian state will be within the wall of the old city. So the future capital of the Palestinian state will be outside. So will it be in Abu Dis?
So we have a map. The map will be released. It's better to look at the map instead of using concepts. We tried to be very precise because words can be twisted. We have a map and we have an 80-page plan, and I'd encourage you to look at it. It provides for a Palestinian state with a capital in East Jerusalem. Look, the issue of where the capital is of a Palestinian state, that was not originally a Palestinian claim. It was a Jordanian claim for land, and they relinquished that claim, and that's okay. But if they want, and again, they've been fighting all these years to get a state. This is the first time they have a state on the table. And again, you know, the dispute between the Israelis and the Palestinians is about territorial dispute and a security dispute, right? And that's about where do you draw the line. And the outcome to that is arbitrary, right? Because it's two sides agreeing on something that's maybe based in history or maybe based in negotiation. And so what you have here is an opportunity. If the Palestinian leadership doesn't like where we're drawing the line, let them show up at the table and let them negotiate and say, hey, we'd like to include this part here, we'd like to include that part there, but you're not going to get that by doing a day of rage. All doing a day of rage shows is that they're not ready to have a state. That's not what people who have states do. And by the way, the people in the Arab world know that, but they've been hearing the same set of cliches for so many years that this is what their rights are without having any counterfacts. So the biggest thing that we're fighting against are just these myths that have been put out there. And they're fairy tales because they never have been achieved, they never will be achieved. But the way that we're fighting against this fairy tale is with a very logical premise. And so we've put out a very detailed proposal. Again, if the Palestinians feel like it's not the right thing, let them go on page 13, page 42, page 25, and say on this line we want this, on this line we want that, on the map we want to move this here. But to give wholehearted rejections will show the world that they actually are not interested in peace, they've never been in peace. And quite frankly, in the Palestinian area, you have a lot of people who are very vested in the status quo. You have a ton of corruption. Right? You have money that's been going in forever. A lot of the leaders are wealthy, their families are wealthy, their friends are wealthy, but the people have been trapped in squalor. And if the Arab and Muslim world really does care about the Palestinian people, this is the best opportunity that we've ever had to help them. And so we have to break old myths and old talking points, and we have to push forward to create a better future. And I'll just say this final thing, which is that if we can resolve this conflict in the region, think about all the possibility of connecting the Middle East in a peaceful harmony with economic opportunity. We have joint threats. The biggest threat right now is not Israel. In Saudi Arabia, there's no Saudi Arabians who have been killed by Israelis. Right? Iran is the big threat. Iran is who's shooting rockets at your airport and rockets at your palaces, from Yemen with the Houthis. It's not Israel. Israel could be the biggest ally to Saudi Arabia in terms of helping them have more advances in technology and defense and being safe. And again, the extremism that's fomented from having this issue unresolved is at a big detriment to the entire Middle East.
Talking about the people and the suffering of the Palestinian people, almost 5 million live in refugee camps in neighboring countries and inside the West Bank. You're saying that no right of return, that these people cannot go to Israel proper. So where are these people going to go, and what's going to happen to the refugees, and are you going to compensate them?
Right. So first of all, again, this is another myth that's been created over so many years, but you do have a lot of people. You have 5 million people who are living in refugee camps. How we got here is less important than the fact that we're here today. We have 70 million refugees in the world. America is the most generous country in the world to funding refugees, and we want to make sure that these refugees have an opportunity to have a better life. So what this plan calls for is it calls for a Palestinian state. That Palestinian state should have the ability to absorb a lot of these refugees, or the refugees should work with their host countries, whether it's Lebanon or Jordan, to be able to get residency there, right? Which could be a good thing.
You think that's easy considering the ethnic makeup in Lebanon and Jordan?
Well, do you think it's easy for them to go back to Israel, given the fact that they've been threatening Israel with violence and terrorism for all these years? Israel has this much land in the Middle East. I think it's 500 times more Arab and Muslim land than Israel has. So you would have thought there was 800,000 Jewish refugees and there was 800,000 Palestinian refugees. The 800,000 Jewish refugees were absorbed. You have 800,000 Palestinian refugees who went to Kuwait. They got kicked out of Kuwait. They went to different places, right? Because they sided with Saddam Hussein in the Gulf War, right? When America was siding with Kuwait and with Saudi Arabia and all those people. And you have a situation now where these people have turned from 800,000 to 5 million. You have over 50 Muslim countries, and these people weren't absorbed over time. That's because these people have been used as a pawn in the broader Middle East. But you have a different leadership today. The leadership that I'm seeing in the Middle East, whether it's leadership in Egypt, in Jordan, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in UAE, in Bahrain, in Oman, the leadership wants to see their people live a better life. They're tired of using the issue of hatred of Israel as a way to divert from their own internal shortcomings. And a lot of these countries are doing the hard things, they're making the necessary reforms, and they're trying to get better to give their people a better future. That will never be possible unless we get this issue resolved. So for a lot of these refugees, we've put together a $50 billion economic plan. There will be a compensation fund that will try to find as much money as we can. But again, I don't know where that money exists. I mean, who owes them that money? People have spoken about this pot of money for years. We'll go around to all these different countries, and people will be generous because they care about it. But the big thing here is that we have a $50 billion plan that will invest in the economy of Egypt, the economy of Jordan. It will invest in the West Bank. It will invest in Gaza. And it will help a Palestinian state become a thriving Palestinian state. And that was actually the great part about Bahrain, is all the great business people from around the world showed up in one place and said, we are willing to help the Palestinian people if they are willing to help themselves. And so, again, the biggest problem that everyone cited there to getting high-paying jobs and economic growth was not Israel. The biggest problem was bad leadership, bad rules, and fear of terror.
Will you absorb some refugees in North America, Canada, United States?
We do a refugee program every year, and we'll do it in the way that we've always done it. But again, there's a lot of Muslim countries, Muslim Arab countries that have made the Palestinian issue a major issue. They've given it in all their speeches. They said the same talking points, but this issue hasn't been done. They should take some responsibility and step up. And if they really care about the Palestinian people, then let them show it. Stop with empty words. The time of empty words has led to a status quo today, which has held the people captive in a bad situation and has not led to progress. But I will say that America has been, over the course of the Palestinians, we've given more money to the Palestinian cause than any country in the world. So I think America has shown that they care about the issue, and now we've spent the time and the effort to try to put forward a plan, and we've built a lot of capital with the state of Israel, and we've used that capital to get Israel to offer a map and a state, two things that have never happened before. So this is a real opportunity, and I hope the Palestinian leadership has the courage and the sense to pursue it.
Let's talk about settlements. Are you asking the Israelis to freeze settlements building for 4 years? You are. And does that mean the 4 big settlements in the West Bank, also the outpost settlements, or certain areas?
Again, we have a map that's out there. It's a conceptual map. We're going to have to spend the next couple of months turning it into a technical map. And that's really the one that we're going to work off of. But again, there's no final map right now. And so if the Palestinian leadership decides that they have changes to the map, they want to do certain things different, let them show up at the table. We'll sit with them and the Israelis. I do think the Israelis will be flexible on certain things. Some things they won't be flexible on, some things they will be flexible on. But to make a final peace with the Palestinians, I think you'll see the Israelis do a lot of things you'd be surprised at. And again, America would like to see this resolved.
So if the Palestinians refuse this plan, does that mean that the Israelis can start implementing it tomorrow and adding settlements and conquering more land, etc.?
Not tomorrow. Okay. What we're going to do is go through the process of having a technical map drawn that shows what this map is. But look, the map is the way it is because you've had 25 years of an inability to make a deal, right? And the realities are the realities. I didn't create this situation. I inherited this file and this situation. And if we don't do this deal that we're going to do, the situation is going to get worse and worse and worse to the point that you can't make a deal, okay? Before I went to government, I was in the real estate business. I know a lot about maps. I know a lot about land. I know about how to make it work. It was very, very difficult to come up with a construct where you can have a contiguous Palestinian state, where you can drive from one end to the bottom through bridges, tunnels, roads. We figured it out. It was not easy. And then we were able to sit with Israel, and we were able to get them to agree to freeze settlements for 4 years. That's never been done before. And get them to agree to a Palestinian state and get them to agree to a map. So we've done a lot of hard work to make this opportunity possible. The question then comes down to, what will the Palestinian leadership do? Now, again, they always miss the opportunity, and everyone in the Middle East jokes about it, but this isn't funny. There's 5 million people whose lives could be better off if the Palestinian leadership has the sense to come to the table and make a deal. And again, under President Trump's leadership, he's created this opportunity that's never been created before. So again, it's you know, nobody ever gets everything they want in a complicated situation. It's the hardest problem in the world. But if we have good leadership, which maybe we do, maybe we don't, then my sense is we could change the paradigm forever. It'd be very, very exciting.
We're running out of time. If the Palestinians refuse and they say that you're actually punishing them, you cut off the aids, you close their office in Washington, you declare Israel as Jerusalem as the capital, you're giving the big settlements to the Israelis, you're giving security in the Jordan Valley, what is there for them to entice them to come to the negotiation table?
So what I would tell them is to take responsibility for their own actions, right? We cut off the aid because they came out and they said terrible things about America. America's aid is not something that's guaranteed. If they went out and insulted Saudi Arabia and the king, I bet the king would stop giving them money too. That's just the way the world works. So we weren't punishing them for any other reason than for their bad actions. We moved the capital to Jerusalem because that's always been the capital. We sort of shut their office in America because they had agreement in the law that allowed them to have that office that they wouldn't do certain things, and then when they did those certain things. So it's not about us looking to punish them. It's that there are certain rules, and they have to be able to follow those rules in order to do it. And if they can't follow basic, simple rules, how do you expect them to run a state? So what we're doing is we're creating one last opportunity for them. We're telling them that their neighbor Israel, which is the stronger party, has agreed for them to have an independent state. We've created guidelines for it. We've created parameters for it. Now, again, maybe this leadership doesn't have what it takes. Maybe there'll be future leadership that will come up. That's why we asked for 4 years. Because if the current leadership makes a bad decision, which, again, they have a very good track record of being irresponsible and making bad decisions, just look at the state of where their people are, right? I mean, you can't say the leadership's doing a great job if the people are still stuck where they are and they've missed every opportunity to make a deal. So if they screw this up, which there's a very high chance that they will, then we'll be in a position where hopefully we have 4 years to work this out. And I do hope that all the Arab leaders and the Arab people throughout the region who care about the Palestinians will come together and tell them that this is an opportunity. Don't blow this like you've blown every opportunity that you've ever had.